The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogens. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It's Friday, December 22nd, and today is National Date Nut Bread Day. And it is for Father's Day, Rico, your favorite day of the year. Thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look down below on your screen to see where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube. And now you can also find us on Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those audiences. And we have Black Santa joining us today. That's right. It is Mr. Rico Lamitte, the dope dad himself, who has a sack of presents. That's right. Laid out for Christmas. That's right. It is none other than the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason. My sack is always full of presents.
It's full of presents, I bet.
But if you, you know what? I'm going to take a little back in time to young Rico Lamitte. You know what I did after college, after getting hurt training for the NFL? The only thing that my young dumbass thought the future held. And those scholarship stipend checks stopped coming in. And knowing that my family did not have the funds to keep me afloat in that cold-ass Chicago winter back in 2006, I started selling weed.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Ukraine is looking a lot like a 22-year-old Rico right now.
Real trap shit.
Oh, boy.
It's been a year and 10 months now since Russian forces launched an invasion by land, air, and sea on Ukraine. Unfortunately, as we fast approach the Eastern European conflict's second anniversary, the international community's once nearly unanimous support for Ukraine's victory is beginning to wane. Until recently, the U.S. has been Ukraine's biggest backer, with the Biden administration seemingly writing an endless amount of blank checks, sending all its spare planes, tanks, and you'll still see a ton of Ukrainian flags and American social media bios posted by believers in performative justice on any given social media platform. But as we head into another election year, Bidenomics, whatever you want to call that shit, Bidenomics not really showing much love for the everyday U.S. citizen. It's beginning to look like good old American money well is about to dry up. But you know what? According to Ukrainian lawmakers, they are voting to legalize the medical use of cannabis on Thursday after activists and supporters called for the step in order to treat millions of people, including soldiers wounded in the war with Russia. We get a round of applause for Ukraine getting a little bit of medical cannabis support there. How about it? The bill was backed by 248 lawmakers. Senior lawmaker Yaroslav Zherlaniak wrote on Telegram Messenger, selling or supplying cannabis for recreational use would remain a criminal offense. But he's going to be pushing for medical, and the bill will be pushed into Parliament. Said medical cannabis was needed by 6 million Ukrainians, including cancer patients, civilians, and post-traumatic stress disorder, and wounded soldiers. The war launched by Russia in February 2022 has killed tens of thousands of people, destroyed settlements and driven millions of people from their home. The fighting rages on with no end in sight. But you know what? At least they have weed as medicine now. The bill must be signed by President Volodymyr Zelensky before it becomes law. And it would come into force 6 months after it's officially published. Opposition lawmaker Yulia Tymoshenko, prime minister from 2007 to 2010, had staunchly opposed the legislation, arguing that recreational drug use would proliferate in Ukraine. The legislation would impose strict controls on the production of medical cannabis, including 24-hour video surveillance accessible by police producers who would have to be licensed. And medicine containing medicinal cannabis would only be available by electronic prescription under the bill. Well, it's pretty draconian times in Ukraine, and I just hope that the people that need the assistance of our great patron plant now can find a little bit of peace with that. I'm Rico Lamitte, dope as that on the street. Now, I'm not a big expert in international geopolitical strife, but
I can help you with that.
I'm a big supporter of medical and recreational cannabis. So big ups to Ukraine. Congrats on that, and I hope the people get the relief that they need. What do you think about this, Jason?
I think this is great for Ukraine. This isn't anything that we didn't already know that was in the works and happening already. And shout out to our field agents out there in Ukraine that send us all these great Tigran that send us all this great information out there. But I will tell you this: I'm wondering why it's only an electronic recommendation or prescription, whatever they want to call it, out there. I'm wondering if they're having a shortage of triplicate forms out there. What do you think, Dr. T? What do you think about this electronic only recommendations or prescriptions for Ukraine?
Well, that's progressive, at least. But this is always an interesting topic for me because of historical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the times when Napoleon troops got introduced to cannabis during their imperialistic escapades into North Africa,
mm-hmm.
and realizing that the government back then also did not want the troops to start using cannabis, possibly because it made them think that war is a silly thing. It's a ridiculous thing,
mm-hmm.
and they tended not to follow orders. That's my interpretation, by the way, not necessarily the historian's interpretation,
mm-hmm.
but I think it's a pretty interesting idea. Cannabis during war. Of course, people are going to need cannabis during war because it does help with all the trauma from war.
I wonder if there's going to be like any military aid that just drops crates of marijuana out in the sky like all the federal prosecutors believe marijuana comes from.
I doubt it.
Was it? I think it was a story from World War I,
mm-hmm.
when it was like the British troops dropped a ton of like super duper heavy cigarettes on the opposing forces and got them all loosey goosey and then wrecked shop on them.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was reading that, or I saw that on a historical documentary I was watching last week. They dropped a bunch of cigarettes on them. They thought they were regular cigarettes, but they're super duper packed ultra nicotine cigarettes, and the opposing forces just chilled the fuck out and they got slaughtered.
Mm-hmm. I wonder too is what are all of the associated ailments that they are going to allow for the recommendations or prescriptions of cannabis in their country?
How about you live in a war-torn country?
PTSD.
I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. But I mean, your article didn't touch on it.
Yeah.
So the legend has it that Napoleon issued the ban on hashish specifically because the soldiers were too stoned, but it was not made illegal until after his campaign in the area came to an end. It was actually one of his generals that banned it, and wasn't so much to protect French citizens against becoming too stoned to be of use to society, but more, high colonialism, exert control over what was popular in the common culture in Egypt and Syria, and drawing that line and pitting people against each other, much like we did here in the U.S. with making opium you smoke illegal. But of course, what white women regularly drank as laudanum was just fine, as long as you were a white woman drinking it and not a person of color smoking it. So, there's some deep stuff, and I'm actually about to unpack that in Africa here in my story, so it's really similar.
I mean, don't we get that here with like all the people that think that
is that tied to the hash assassins?
That was before. That was Syria.
Yeah.
That was many years before. Yeah.
But now, I wonder, Dale, is that tied?
You can only tell me a story about that one time.
Edibles, cannabis consumers, they look down upon people that smoke cannabis. So I wonder if this is just the same thing happening over and over again.
All of them.
Yeah.
You're just painting all edibles lovers.
All edible only lovers. Yeah. They look down on people. They're like, I don't want all that smoke in my lungs.
Your binary labels.
Yeah.
Dude.
You're all just a bunch of deplorables if you set fire to anything and inhale it.
Oh,
heathens.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Oh, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
He's I9 News head honcho and known for smoking the best weed in the world. And I can only imagine now that the 45th president is no longer on the Colorado ballot, that his hatred for Colorado cannabis is only going to intensify. May we all have mercy on Jason's soul.
Oh,
Jason
man.
Beck, what do you have for us today?
I mean,
the Green Goblin.
That's how you know he's going to win, when you got to take him off the ballot, because you know he's going to win. Because that's just how the way the world works. But I'll tell you what, man, my story today comes out of the White House, you guys. Here we go. Get ready for more lip service. Because Biden to pardon certain marijuana offenses, commute sentences of 11 nonviolent drug offenders. That's right, you guys. President Biden will commute the sentences of 11 individuals serving jail sentences for nonviolent drug offenses on Friday. That is today. And he will sign a proclamation to pardon certain marijuana offenses. The proclamation will pardon offenses for marijuana and use possession on certain federal lands, and Biden in October of 2022 announced pardons for thousands of individuals who had been convicted of simple marijuana possession under federal law. In quotes, just as no one should be in federal prison solely due to the use or possession of marijuana, no one should be in a local jail or state prison for that reason either, Biden said in a statement. That's why I continue to urge governors to do the same with regard to state offenses and applaud those who have since taken action. In addition, Biden intends to commute the sentences of 11 nonviolent offenders in this latest use of clemency power. Each of the individuals are serving what the White House called disproportionately long sentences for nonviolent drug offenses and would have been eligible for reduced sentences had they been charged today. The individuals who had their sentences commuted were Felipe Arriaga of Washington, Early Deacon Barber of Alabama, James Michael Barber of North Carolina, Anthony Ewing of Georgia, Quitman Andre Godley of Texas, and Deonde Cordell Higgins of Missouri, Leroy Lemons of Florida, Angel Rosario of Pennsylvania, and Esaias J. Tucker of Florida, along with Daryl Allen Winkfield of Georgia and Kenneth Winkler of Indiana. So congratulations to all of these gentlemen who are going to get to go home and see their families for the holidays.
Big love.
Yes. But the White House said Biden supports efforts to eliminate sentencing disparities between crack cocaine offenses and powder cocaine offenses. I mean, he's the one that helped create that, but nonetheless. America was founded on the principle of equal justice under law, Biden said in a statement. Elected officials on both sides of the aisle, faith leaders, civil rights advocates, and law enforcement leaders agree that our criminal justice system can can and should reflect this core value that makes our communities safer and stronger. In addition to this marijuana pardons, Biden in April of 22 pardoned 3 people convicted of nonviolent crimes and commuted their sentences of 75 individuals convicted of nonviolent drug crimes in this first use of clemency powers since taking office. At the end of 2022, Biden pardoned 6 more individuals who served sentences for drug or alcohol-related crimes, as well as a woman who had been convicted of a second-degree murder while she was in an abusive relationship. In quotes, I have exercised my clemency power more than any recent predecessor has at this point in their presidency. I don't know about that, but I'm not buying that one. But Biden in a statement said on Friday, and while today's announcement marks important progress, my administration will continue to review clemency petitions and deliver reforms that advance equal justice, address racial disparities, strengthen public safety, and enhance the well-being of all Americans. Well, this is a special holiday surprise that I don't think a lot of people saw coming, but what do you guys have to say? Joe Biden giving out gifts to 11 Americans of the choice of freedom, but I'm going to digress, and this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. Merry Christmas, you guys.
Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden.
Is the news that Jason Beck did a story of Biden doing something good?
I mean, I think that should be a whole headline all by itself, Dale. I'm with you.
That's all I was thinking while you were talking. Look, it's baby steps. It's a good thing. It's still a small thing. They basically it was closing a loophole. They forgot the people that were busted on federal lands. And so they were just closing that loop. And the whole point that they're trying to do is really from the Obama era of sentencing disparity. If they had been caught today for the same crime, this is closer to what they would have been charged. I would just postulate that cannabis possession should not be a crime. Deschedule.
I agree with that, Dale.
This 2.0 Act. Cheers.
That's right.
You know, this is it's political one-upsmanship. Would he release or commute like one more sentence than Trump did before him? Why don't you just?
I will take it.
I don't know if I'm buying. I don't know if I'm buying those numbers.
For each of those families,
for each of those human
beings. Thank you.
And I don't want to minimize, the importance of those 11 individuals. Like big love to them, and I'm really, really happy that they're gaining their freedom. However, why not commute all the sentences?
Well,
yes,
I think in relation with commuting all the sentences, I don't think his team has done the legal work to be able to commute all those sentences. Well, there's a lot of organizations that have, but not him.
Is this the first time that they've mentioned impacting things on a local level? Because they only have federal auspices, but he did say local jails.
He said that before when he first voted last. Was that last year? I've lost track of time. It's broken. But the last time when he did the big one, he urged locals, states specifically, to take a look. And of course, all the red states said, we're locking them down harder, Biden.
I don't know if they said that, but it was October 7th of 2022, you guys, just so you know.
Go look up some of the quotes from some of the Republican governors. There was one, as a matter of fact, that just had a state that flipped, that said aloud on a recording that their state is not going to make money off taxes. They're going to make money off of penalties and fees, and then immediately slapped a hundreds of thousands of dollar fine on the very first one to open. So tell me again, what?
That's bait.
That is bait. That is bait. I'm not buying it. That's one governor when there's at least another 25 of them, but you can't make them all that. That's cute though, Dale. I see what you did there. That was real cute. That was a good little holiday spin right there. Yeah.
I'm learning how to play your game, brother.
I love it. I'm all about.
You know what you putting down.
I'm all about the reindeer games. You know what I'm saying, Dale? I'm all about those reindeer games.
Hey.
Yes. Chris, what do you think about this? Being former law enforcement, these guys getting to go home, see their families. Maybe they're going to get,
great.
Maybe they'll get some stuffing.
It's. I agree with Dale. It's not enough, but it's a good first step.
That's a good first step. I like it's interesting choice of words right there, Mr. Christopher Eggers.
Is it?
First step. Yes, that's right, because that was Trump's clemency thing, the First Step Act. Yep, that's why I thought that was.
Don't try to take the heat off of yourself doing a story on Biden. Something positive.
You know what? This is the best. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm ducking over here. I'm dodging. I know. Yeah, I'm doing the Jason. Yeah, exactly, Dale, right there.
Well, that's right.
Can I take credit for putting this story into the Friday queue?
I already called it before that. But I am glad that you did see that. Yes, that's fair
credit
enough.
ain't cheap these days, Dr. Mark.
Credit.
Interest rates are high. Bidenomics.
Oh my God. Dale looks like she has something going on with her Christmas tree lights over there at her house. Apparently, maybe one of the cats or dogs started chewing on the wires.
Apparently, there's a disco starting at 9:21 in the morning.
I mean, there is lots of raves in Oakland, Dale. In fairness, there's lots of raves in Oakland, so it's very possible. Maybe they're having snowflake ball.
Yeah, at 3 p.m. I'm unfamiliar with those raves.
It's a snowflake ball at your house.
At least Normal can no longer say that Joe Biden has pardoned more turkeys than he has cannabis convicted individuals.
Now I think that would have been a good statement for the administration to say. I think that would have been a more fair statement for the administration to say. I'm with you on that. We're going to keep this train rolling. We got a lot of stories to get through, and we want to try to get out on time for the holidays for you guys. Yeah, Rico's daughter got a little play, little Zozo, got a little holiday play today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Live stream, maybe I'll live stream it.
That's right. And so coming up next, it is the doctor of doctors in the cannabis space. He's been writing recommendations longer than probably most of you have been alive, not to mention only that, but he's the founder of CESC and the founder of Medican, where you actually can get your medical cannabis recommendations. That's right. It is none other than Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Thank you, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone. So my story today comes from Normal. Arizona officials will no longer pursue most cases involving prenatal cannabis exposure. Arizona state officials will no longer take positive actions against people who consume medical cannabis during their pregnancy. The decision announced by the Department of Child Safety last week comes nearly 1 year after Arizona State Supreme Court declined to reverse a lower court decision allowing physician-authorized use of medical cannabis by pregnant women. The decision supports the idea that medical cannabis use during pregnancy does not constitute neglect by the mother. Lawyers for the Child Safety Agency acknowledge that they do not possess the legal authority to investigate cases of prenatal cannabis exposure unless there are explicit allegations of neglect. The new policy takes effect in January. Studies consistently show that Black and Hispanic pregnant women are disproportionately ordered to undergo drug testing during labor and delivery. In certain states, like Alabama and Oklahoma, pregnant women who consume cannabis frequently face criminal prosecution, even if they have a physician-approved recommendation. Data assessing the relationship between cannabis use during pregnancy and neonatal outcomes are inconsistent. It's unethical to perform prospective clinical trials. As a result, many studies observe cannabis use in the community. Illegal behavior is often associated with negative health outcomes. Socioeconomic and environmental factors confound observational data. Correlation is not causation. Consuming cannabis in poverty is different from consuming cannabis in wealth. As noted above, some states, even with medical cannabis laws, consider consuming cannabis while pregnant a crime. Obstetrician and Hyatt 9 correspondent Dr. Felicia Dawson commented yesterday in an online presentation that pregnant women are now at the front line in the battle to normalize medical cannabis. Hyperemesis gravidum is a serious condition where pregnant women experience nausea and vomiting. It's more than morning sickness, resulting in preterm labor, low birth weight, and NICU admissions if left untreated. Depression during pregnancy is associated with poor outcomes to the mother and child. Prenatal anxiety is also a risk factor for adverse health outcomes. The relative risk of negative outcomes from these conditions favors the use of cannabis, especially considering recent data from the University of Maryland and Virginia Commonwealth University noting no difference in neonatal outcome among pregnant women, cannabis users, and non-users in 4 different cohorts. It's good to see that the law in Arizona acknowledges the science. What are your thoughts? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand for Hyatt 9 News.
Shout out Dr. Felicia Dawson getting that little quote in there.
So
yeah. Dr. Felicia in the building.
Hell yeah. I did not do this story because I didn't know if I could get through it because it hits me so close to home. So you mentioned hyperemesis gravidarum. So someone with morning sickness, it's a bad cold. Hyperemesis gravidarum is like COVID, right? That hits you hard. It is a hurricane versus a storm. And I have what's called cyclic vomiting syndrome. Those of you that remember the movie The Day After Tomorrow, it's worse than hyperemesis gravidarum. And I was prescribed several things that have never been tested on pregnant women or babies, but I will share with you that after my first was born, after taking Zofran, that's when all the television commercials started about how many birth defects, some of which are obvious and some of which may not present for decades, heart problems, developmental problems, from Zofran in the first trimester, which is exactly when they prescribe it for morning sickness, with no testing on mothers or babies for those outcomes except the lawsuits. And the damage psychologically to both babies and moms with what you're talking about and then being removed from each other. And I'm also just going to point out that not all these removals are even founded in science or reality. Never mind that cannabis has been found over and over to be no more harmful than many things we commonly consume, including studies of moms and babies in Jamaica, but that in 12 out of the 14 indicators, the children of the moms who did consume cannabis in utero and after had better outcomes. That's 12 out of 14 children had better outcomes. Once those outcomes were reported, that study was immediately stopped by the federal government and attempted to be buried. There are so many cross currents here of a lack of testing of most medicines for pregnant women. And so everything is a no. But what we do also have is thousands of years of midwifery. And no matter what state you're in, you still have to be super careful about what you share with professional medical staff in a hospital or an HMO or a PPO, because they are required by law to report you. And as Dr. Talleyrand said, you are considered a child abuser. You are considered someone who either neglects or abuses your child because of this cannabis use. And we are still taking babies in hospitals, not just for positive cannabis tests, but for years, Johnson & Johnson baby soap would pop a positive, and babies are being ripped from their moms over a perception of cannabis use that's actually from the soap that they just used on that child. So the harm that we have done to families, and predominantly, usually poor families, right? And you talk about Black and brown and indigenous women who don't have resources to fight. It is women still being strapped down in Texas in chains to give birth. This is still happening in America right now, and I appreciate you bringing this to light, Dr. T.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Dale.
Yeah, absolutely important. And, Dr. Dawson also expressed it very well yesterday. It's something we can't forget. Putting pregnant women on the front line of this battle, I mean, we really shouldn't be doing this, or we should be joining them. They shouldn't be alone. We can't forget them.
And if you got a mom, right? If you love a mom, if you have a mom, a sister, a daughter, this is affecting dads too, and importantly, children. So many young Black boys did not grow up with parents because of that. They were put in foster care because their moms were taken as part of the conspiracy when their dads were dealing just to feed their family, Rico. We're not done yet, people. We are not done yet. And it's the folks that are still on the wrong side of the line of prohibition that we're still fighting for. Thank you.
It's very well said, Dale. Yeah, I think we have to go to a commercial after that. That was super powerful. Thank you.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it deep down in your heart of hearts, and you too will appreciate it as well. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already, and all of the articles that we cover today you can read on our website at www.highat9news.com.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is. We just stretched, and now we're gonna smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go. Woo!
Our next correspondent on this beautiful pseudo-Christmas Eve episode of High 9 News is a New England-based expert in organic and natural product chemistry, plant oil extraction, analysis, and chemical modification. And it showed up this morning looking more natural in an elf uniform than Will Ferrell. Y'all know who it is, Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Oh, thank you, Rico. Happy Friday, everybody.
Good.
Hope you're having a great week, and hope you're ready for this holiday weekend and you're spending time with your family and eating good food and staying warm. So I'm really excited to talk about the article that I have to present today. But before I do that, I want to read from the Controlled Dangerous Substance Act what the definition of a Schedule I controlled substance is, just to remind everybody. Schedule I controlled substances are substances that have no currently accepted medical use in the United States, a lack of accepted safety for use under medical supervision, and a high potential for abuse. So that is the definition of a Schedule I drug. My story today comes from Normal, and it's titled, Scientists Have Published Over 30,000 Papers About Cannabis in the Past Decade. For a third consecutive year, researchers worldwide have published over 4,000 scientific papers specific to cannabis and its constituents and their effects, according to the results of a keyword search of the National Library of Medicine, pubmed.gov, if you want to go to the website. Despite claims by some that marijuana has yet to be the subject of adequate scientific scrutiny, scientists interested in studying cannabis has increased exponentially in recent years as our understanding of the plant and its active constituents, their mechanism of action, and their effects on both user and upon society. Normal's deputy director, Paul Armentano, said, "It is time for politicians and for others to stop assessing cannabis through the lens of what we do not know, and instead start engaging in evidence-based discussions about marijuana and marijuana reform policies that are indicative of all that we do know." all that we do know. Wow, what an amazing concept. Over the past decade, there has been a dramatic increase in scientific inquiries about the cannabis plant, with researchers publishing more than 32,000 scientific papers. A couple of those were mine, folks. About cannabis since the beginning of 2013. Much of this uptick of result of researchers are newfound focus on marijuana's therapeutic activities, as well as investigation into real-world effects of the legalization laws. In all, more than 70% of all peer-reviewed scientific papers about marijuana have been published in the past 10 years. That's an amazing statistic. 70% of all papers have been published in the last 10 years. That is amazing. And 90% of this literature has been published since 2002. As of writing, PubMed.gov cites over 45,900 scientific papers on marijuana dating back to 1840. 1840 they were writing about this, okay? Available to the public online since 1996, since PubMed is a free resource supporting the search and retrieval of biomedical information about life sciences literature. Summaries over 450 studies of safety and therapeutic efficacy of cannabinoids in different patient populations are available from NORML. And folks, when you go to the NORML site and you click on that link, it leads you to a new web page that describes all of the medical conditions to which there is medical evidence in the peer-reviewed scientific literature that cannabis is effective on. Let me read this list of diseases. It's very impressive. Alzheimer's disease, ALS, autism spectrum disorder, chronic pain, diabetes, epilepsy, fibromyalgia, gastrointestinal disorders, gliomas, which include cancers, hepatitis C, human immune deficiency virus, otherwise known as HIV, Huntington disease, hypertension, inconsistence, I don't know what that is, but it must be a disease. Insomnia, methicillin-resistant Staph aureus infection, so antibacterials. Migraine, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, post-traumatic stress syndrome, pruritus, rheumatoid arthritis, sleep apnea, and Tourette syndrome. We also know that, cannabis is effective at certain classifications of epilepsy where anti-epileptic drugs don't work at all. The drugs that have been developed have no efficacy whatsoever, and the only thing that works in these intractable forms of epilepsy is CBD. So I see that glaucoma is not listed here, but we all know that cannabis certainly has both shown clinical efficacy in humans with glaucoma. So when
one of the what one of the federal patients is diagnosed with to
that's correct. Yeah,
one of only
that's
two
correct.
left living. So I don't understand why that's not on the.
That's correct. And that Dale is very good to point that out. That's actually a medical prescription for cannabis to treat that. So I just wanted to say that we do have medical evidence to support. Let's go back to our Schedule 1 definition again. Schedule 1 definition basically says that there is no known medical use. Well, if you pull up NIDA's budget for 2023, you'll see that they spend $1.8 billion. That's their budget. And a big fraction of that budget is spent on the negative aspects of cannabis. And if you go to NIH.gov and you search who's being funded, the government spends billions of dollars still to prove that cannabis is deleterious to people who use it and people who consume it. While the scientific literature shows all of this efficacy and shows documented medical use that's in the peer-reviewed literature. And in peer-reviewed literature, they don't give a shit about drug policy. They just know that the data shows that this works. And that's what we need to get out there. We need to unwind the Schedule 1 listing of cannabis. It is an absolute crime against humanity that cannabis is Schedule 1 when all of these medical uses are known and documented in the scientific literature. That's my story for today. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year. Let's do it better in 2024, and I'll be interested in what my fellow correspondents have to say. Thank you. Dr. Mark from the shores of Lake Champlain here in Vermont.
Thank you, Dr. Mark. Once upon a time, we were all saying, yeah, we need more science, we need more papers, we need more publishing. At what point?
Yeah. Dr. T, what do you think about this?
Will we be able to say we have enough?
Is this enough? Is this enough?
Well,
is this enough research?
There's more on most drugs that we currently prescribe every day.
Yeah.
Of all the drugs we commonly consume, there are more studies on cannabis than aspirin. What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always bring it back to Alzheimer's because I've lost a couple of relatives to Alzheimer's, and there are like 5 FDA-approved drugs, and none of them have any proof of working. 0 proof of working.
Mm-hmm.
But they're FDA approved.
Yeah, I mean, the medical community will never say there's enough research. We always want to do more research. So it's really the political legal community that's ignoring the evidence, and they're the ones that will need to reverse. There's certainly enough compared to other substances out there. As we're pointing out, we've done a lot more research on cannabis than many other substances that are acceptable. So, the other problem is the idea of the plant versus the pill. It's difficult for the FDA to regulate plants. They just don't have a hard time with it. And so that's
Dr.
another underlying
Dr.
problem.
T, can I ask you a question? So in that definition in the Controlled Dangerous Substance Act, they use the word accepted. No accepted use. So when you see these papers and they're publishing, preclinical data in mice, I get it. But when you see clinical data that actually is convincing on human population, when does a use become accepted? Only after it's FDA approved and gone through clinical trials? Is that an accepted use? So is that
Correct.
what we're hung up? Okay.
Correct.
Is accepted a defined definition that is that in order to have
all are bullshit because we have Marinol, Dronabinol, we have Schedule 3 with Epidiolex, we have Schedule 3 with there's another one that's slipping my brain right now.
Nabilone. So the fact that those made it over the FDA goal line, doesn't that mean that the plant from which they were derived is also known medical accepted use? Maybe what they say is, well, it's not accepted use in the plant form, but if you get it in a little capsule that's prescribed at $300 a pill, paid for by drug insurance, bought at a drug store from a guy who dispenses drugs all day, then it's okay, I guess, right?
Well, what's funny is it's the other constituents of the plant that they're saying is the problem, because the one thing that's the Schedule 1, they're actually identifying for medical use. And it's the cognitive dissonance that is going on right now is staggering. And I just want to remind everyone that years ago, Congress passed a law requiring the ONDCP, the Office of National Drug Control Policy, to, by any means necessary, prevent the legalization of cannabis while they spend billions figuring all this out. And I'm just asking that we can walk and chew gum at the same time here and take the fangs out of the DEA and this policy. This is why rescheduling is not the answer, because this conundrum will only get worse and more confused. We have a natural plant that should be legal for all Americans to grow, and we should continue research, absolutely, for pharmaceuticalization, medicalization, being able for a doctor or a nurse to help patients in hospice, in hospital, with known things that will help those symptoms. This is insanity, and we just need to really approach them differently. Come on, America, we can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Common sense approach. Well said, Dale.
Yep. And on that, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right on to, that's right, Miss Dale Sky Jones. She's a mom and the chancellor at Oaksterdam University, here to educate and teach you how to keep up with the Joneses. That's right. It's a Joneses Christmas, and it is Dale Sky Jones.
That's right. Good morning on the West Coast. Good afternoon for those of you that have already been hitting it hard for hours on end. My news today is from the other side of the world and even a different hemisphere. That's right. This story is coming from Africa News. It was last updated about 45 minutes ago. It is about Ghana, and Ghana's parliament has marked a historic milestone by legalizing cannabis cultivation for medical and industrial purposes. Now, I want you to hold on to that medical and industrial because there's kind of a catch at the end. Aligning with the global momentum embracing the multifaceted benefits of cannabis. This groundbreaking decision made on December 14th grants the Interior Minister the authority to issue licenses, ushering a transformative era in Ghana's cannabis regulations. Their commitment to realizing cannabis's potential was underscored by the passage of Narcotics Control Commission Act 2020. This is Act 1019 for you policy wonks that want to go look that up. This move aligns with a global wave of countries harnessing the potential of the cannabis industry, which was estimated to be worth $30 billion in global GDP in January 2022. Gone up since then. Licensing cover the entire spectrum of cannabis-related activities, including cultivation, processing, distribution, sale, import, and export. Critically, these licenses adhere to stringent THC content standards, limiting levels to 0.3 on a dry weight basis. So they're legalizing hemp, in effect. Experts claim that if the cannabis industry is properly managed and regulated along the value chain, Ghana's economic issues may be remedied because cannabis has the capacity to flourish in every part of the country. The key sector expected to benefit significantly is the employment sector. Jobs, yes, job creation. That is everywhere. The growing of the plant means workers. The processing of the plant, the selling of the plant, the experience of the plant, workers, jobs. As Ghana embarks on this transformative journey, the country stands at the forefront of the cannabis industry development in Africa. Also, listen for the swoosh of investors and business people headed that direction. The cannabis in Ghana is illegal without a license from the Minister of Health, just to let you know. But the nation is, along with Nigeria, among the top illicit cannabis-producing countries of West Africa. Cannabis in Ghana is known as weed or devil's tobacco. And it was thought, there's two theories, might have been brought there by troops returning from India and Burma after World War II, or spread by sailors coming down by the coast, most likely from Sierra Leone. And the first reported illegal cultivation was in 1960. So I'm curious what folks think about cannabis from Ghana being transported to other countries in not just Western Africa. I see Europe, perhaps Morocco. What are your thoughts?
I think this is great news, and I'm glad that this is going to be happening and going on over there and all that, but it's just hemp. And unless they're going to start to build some factories and really produce some actual products, I don't see how it's really going to benefit them as much.
It's a huge economic benefit, though. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a great start, and it's a benefit.
But it's like, what are you going to do with the plants afterwards? What are you going to do with the plants?
Are they going to follow the same thing of CBD in America?
That's what it
can we
sounds
just
like.
go into reality here? That's why we need to hurry up and legalize just cannabis for adult use and not create these lab environments where this is not what hemp is best applied for.
Yeah, even though America's influence abroad is waning,
really,
we're still waiting for America to move on cannabis. We need to move.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go quickly on the full plant, not just one side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's a certain amount
of that actually believe in science, unlike America. Why don't you go forward and lead the way? America doesn't seem to be wanting to take that lead anymore.
No, that's America.
There's like a critical amount of investment that needs to provide infrastructure in order to make a successful business opportunity there. And just going back to the previous story about Ukraine has been a large grain exporter for years. So there I see it happening and being quite successful to get into the hemp market. Again, when it comes down to it, the driver for hemp is not CBD production. CBD is cratered to like $200 a kilo. Well, who's going to make money making CBD? The driver for hemp is to overtake soybean as being the way of growing protein per square acre, because we need to feed more people on this planet, and food is much more important than CBD currently for these people, especially in Africa. So when it comes down to it, hemp beats soybean on protein per acre. That's the driver that these people need to realize, because there's bottom of the pyramid, kind of thing where they can grow their own food, establish, what do we call it, nutritional equity, Rico? They could fend for themselves, right? Yeah. Right. Everything that the hemp plant can provide, in addition to CBD and cannabinoids, can help them create, food. And that's what people need. People need more food, not CBD.
And in developing nations, using hemp as a textile, they don't have all of the red tape that we do here in America.
But they will have a lot of cheap labor.
Well, and to just bring a bit more wealth into the country right now, I just looked it up, and what Ghana's chief ag exports are cocoa, palm oil, rubber, and then citrus is fourth. So they're not producing ag crops for food as two of their top three ag exports right now. So if we can reduce everything I've heard about palm oil is frightening. Rubber's on the decline across the world, and so is cocoa.
Rubbers are on the decline.
Creating a hemp economy can help you leapfrog declining nations.
100%. I'm all about that. We need to bring more infrastructure into the hemp space and be focusing more on producing products with hemp as opposed to just CBD isolate and whatnots. These single source compounds.
Totally.
Delta 8.
Totally.
Delta 8.
Oh God.
No, not Delta 8, man. No. Come on.
Come on, Rico. Come on, Rico. We got one more to go, bro. You ready for Chris?
Stir the pot. Y'all know who it is. Coming up next and closing us out today on a special Christmas Eve version edition of High at 9 News is the man who used to chase down criminals, and now, you know what? He's chasing down the best deals for local and regionally distributed cannabis. Chris Eggers, what do you have for us today, my man?
Rico Lamitte, good to see you, buddy. Hello to all my fellow correspondents. Happy Friday, everybody. My story is out of Tennessee, and we're talking some hemp as well, but headline reads, a new Tennessee law for cannabis and hemp sales putting some retailers on edge. And I'm going to reference another article here in just a second. But Tennessee cannabis and hemp retailers are concerned that the industry is at risk of ending because of a new state law, and that's Senate Bill 378 out of Tennessee, which was passed back in April. Hemp cannabis farmers were able to sell their flower products with limited restrictions. Farm to Med owner Chris Sumrell said that the plant makes up anywhere of 80 to 90% of his sales, and that the law is being misinterpreted. He's quoted in this article to say, quote, "It really defines on the first page as hemp being anything less than 0.3 delta 9 THC. The interpretation of the law takes that a step further and interprets it to be anything less than a total of 0.3 THC. And that in turn takes our plant that the state permits us to grow off the table for resale." He said that it is impossible to grow the plant and keep it at a 0.3% total THC. He said that the industry has been very beneficial for too many Tennesseans. So let me just reference this other article out of Fox 13 that basically lines out some of the bullet points of this Senate bill, just to recap. So the comprehensive bill creates a solid foundation from which, this is according to a Fox 13 article, from which the hemp industry can grow, and includes the following. 1, it requires a privilege tax of 6% of the sale price of these products, with revenue going to the state general fund. I think that's important to note. It requires that manufacturers and sellers obtain a license from the Department of Agriculture, requires hemp-based cannabinoid products to be tested for safety and toxicity by an accredited laboratory, and it introduces new offenses for selling it or assisting someone under the 21 to buy products of which have hemp-derived cannabinoids. So talking a little bit of hemp, talking a little bit of cannabis, talking some new state laws that look to be affecting Tennessee. And obviously it's going to affect some jobs as well. But interesting. I wanted to bring that to you guys on a Friday. Hope everybody has a great weekend, great holiday if you're celebrating. And if nothing else, be kind to one another and enjoy being around friends and family.
Man, they got a lot of confusion going on out there in Tennessee, bro. Isn't that where that isn't that where that video of that couple that like got arrested for smoking THCA on the bench were too?
That's North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. Okay, all right. Same.
Cackalack.
Okay.
Yeah, it's getting kind of dicey out there in Tennessee. I got a couple of clients out there, and it's not fun times.
You have clients in Tennessee, huh?
Clients
everywhere.
Interesting. Man, yeah, no, it's a shit show. I don't think they know what they even really want to do out there. They just want to act like they're doing something for the sake of doing something, and even though it doesn't really help the situation at all. You know what I mean, Chris?
I mean, it makes sense. It's the volunteer state, man. They just show up.
Is it a volunteer state?
It is the volunteer state.
That's what it says on it? That's what it doesn't say that on its license plates.
Let's see, Tennessee license plates.
I wouldn't be surprised if
it does not say that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had the volunteer state on their license plates.
They do not have that.
That is their nickname, dude.
I think they might. State. I used to live in the South, and I'm trying to remember. You didn't see Tennessee plates out of state that often, but.
Yep, the volunteer state. It's on the license plate.
It's on the license plate.
I'll let you, boy.
Wow,
take a shot,
man.
Better than the show me.
Man.
State get flashed on the freeway.
Oh boy, you guys are funny.
I know some good folks out of Tennessee, man.
Yeah, there's some great folks out.
Absolutely.
In Tennessee.
Some great people.
There are great folks everywhere in America, and it's just we got to remember to show up in the places that we, people we don't necessarily agree with politically, but I bet we agree on, the state of our community and that we love our family, and just get out there and connect. Don't ask who they're voting for. Just connect on a community. Remind ourselves we're really just humans. We're more alike than different.
I thought that's why you always came on to talk to me, Dale.
There's some big producers.
Were you talking directly to Jason?
She was. See, yeah, exactly, Chris. See,
I'm practicing what I preach. There we are.
You see what
I think you keep putting your little ball in my eye though on camera, so you're.
With the Joneses here, maybe I can.
Yeah.
Pinch the hat.
Oh. Where's that Christmas? Is that Christmas in Mar-a-Lago there?
Yeah, like, I had to have everybody over to the house. You know what I mean? This holiday, you know what I mean? Wanted to make sure you guys
Lev Parnas showed up.
That's right. Smokable flower in Florida, bro, out here on the patio.
Lev Parnas showed up. Matt Gates showed up.
We got the whole gang over here today. We're going to have a wonderful spread. Lots of fun-filled guests over here today. You know how we do it, Rico. You know how
I guess
we got.
But you know what? All good things come to an end.
Yep.
Cannabis is the one thing we can all agree on.
That's right. Now we have a photo of Mrs. Jones's in Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, good Lord.
Dale's going to have that scrubbed from the internet. But thank you all for joining us for another week of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to super fans. Big shout out to Leah.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Ingrid with a super chat.
Yes.
Yes.
Out there showing love. Super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen. Our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the Headlines of Chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over. Y'all know Fridays is always where it's at. Got an all-star cast every single Friday, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table as well. To our production team, Cloud Media Partners, our sponsors keeping the lights on and our AV struggles to a minimum. And as always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason the High at 9 News team reads these headlines every single day. Thank you, too. It has been Friday, December 22nd, 2023. The show's over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines, special pre-Christmas, post-Hanukkah, pre-Kwanzaa, pre-Feast of Saturnalia show.
Oh boy!
I hope you guys have a great time with your parents, your kids, your relatives, your friends and family in this holiday season. Bring it together and put something in the air. And to close us out today, I want to give it to Dale Sky Jones, Mrs. Jones.
With gratitude to be here with all of you. I appreciate each and every one of you and all of the listeners. And by the way, quick shameless plug: if you're saying, "Oh shit, it's December 22nd," you can still give the gift of knowledge, whether you get it through Oaksterdam or the Bud Tender's Guide or just, sitting down with your loved ones and having that meaningful conversation. If you can, please take care of yourself, take care of your family, others around you, and possibly someone you've never met before. Maybe take care of a stranger. Yeah, as Jesus intended. Blessings to all of you and your family, and I look forward to seeing you on the flip side of this particular holiday season. Thank you so much. Blessings. Go Oaksterdam. Woo!
Oh, yeah, look at that. See?
Cannabis and Christmas.
She even got in a little baby Jesus in there.